I didn't really realize the breadth of life's experiences that I had missed until I was 59 years old. That was the year that everything changed, and I started to wonder, Helen, what has held you back for so long? What have you decided not to do? I found the question to be both a reprimand and a revelation. It wasn't easy to face the reality, but the disclosures were waiting for me and came to me in the most unexpected way. The moment came with a sense of anticipation as I started the process of cleaning out my former home's attic, a room I had purposefully avoided for over a decade. That room had become a peaceful haven for memories I didn't want to relive after the death of my 35-year spouse, Richard. But I had to confront it head-on that day due to an unanticipated rush of resolve. As I remembered, the attic opened up before me, a maze of dusty boxes, forgotten treasures, and a musty stench that made my breath catch. I cautiously opened the first box as I got closer, exposing a picture book that had been out of my line of sight for a while. I was frozen in place by the sight of it. I carefully raised the cover, and the first picture caught my attention right away. My 20s are when it was created. I was standing on a spotless beach, enjoying a martini in one hand and laughing uncontrollably as though everything had vanished. Wearing a bright yellow bikini and big sunglasses, I gave off an image of effortless assurance, as though life's responsibilities couldn't affect me. The vision of young, carefree elegance evoked a deep emotion in me. The sound of footsteps reached my ears as I turned the pages. I was shocked to see my step-grandson Tyler framed in the doorway when I turned to look at him. I hadn't seen him since he left for work, but it had been 3 long years. He was no longer the skinny young man I knew at 29. He had grown into a broad-shouldered, confident man. With a coffee cup in one hand and a paper bag in the other, he shouted out to Helen. "Tyler," I said, feeling a wave of astonishment and genuine happiness. "What has brought you here?" He saw your car parked outside as he passed by, grinning nonchalantly. "I made the decision to stop by and check on you." He moved farther into the attic before I had a chance to protest. I gripped him closely as his eyes moved over the room before settling on the picture album. "What is that?" His interest aroused, he asked. Holding it near to my heart, I whispered, "It's just an old album." But Tyler was getting closer already. Without saying anything, he grabbed the album and looked at the picture of me on the beach. Without hesitation, he answered, "Is this you?" "Yes," I admitted, letting forth a trembling laugh. Tyler stared at the picture for a moment longer than I thought he would. He finally looked into my eyes and said, "Wow, you look really amazing. It's hard to imagine you like this." I couldn't find the right words. I got a warm flush from the mixture of wonder and admiration in his voice. With a soft flick, he started turning the pages as we took our seats. Each picture seemed to reveal a side of myself that I had long forgotten. There was me dancing freely, barefoot, at a rooftop party, and another me at a nightclub wearing a glittering red dress. "You were crazy," Tyler said in a disbelieving tone. "Everyone goes through their wild years," I said, brushing it off. I could feel a strange feeling unfolding inside of me as I watched him carefully study each picture, something I hadn't felt in a long time. As we dug deeper into the album, laughing at previous hairstyles and considering the significant changes life had brought around, the conversation flowed naturally. But during those times together, things began to shift between us. Tyler's eyes were still on me as he closed the album. "You are really amazing, Helen," he whispered softly. "Something about this moment feels like I'm meeting you for the first time." I was stunned by what he said. It seemed like ages had passed since anyone had looked at me so intently or spoken to me with such sincere gratitude. I was at a loss for words, so I decided to be quiet, hoping that my expression would convey the emotions I found difficult to articulate. Tyler reached out and took my hand in a way that was comforting and firm at the same time. "Helen," he began in a gentle yet sincere tone, "your attractiveness is genuinely exceptional. It goes beyond the norm." As our eyes met, my heart began to race. I felt like I was finally recognized as the woman I used to be, rather than just the widow who was left behind, after years of feeling invisible. Everything changed in that instant. I was filled with the lively energy in the days that followed that encounter. Tyler politely offered to help clean out the attic and stayed longer than expected. We spent hours buried in a sea of boxes, laughing over things we had forgotten and discovering tidbits of my history that had escaped my mind. But in those brief moments, I was the one who stirred with life, not just the attic. I discovered an old garment one afternoon while searching through a box of vintage clothing. It was a beautiful emerald green dress with a tight waist and a dramatic neckline. It had a particular place in my heart when I was in my 20s, and seeing it again made me feel quite nostalgic. "You should try it," Tyler suggested, his eyes glimmering with excitement. For a while, there was doubt. "Oh, I don't think it would fit at all now," he said with a smile on his lips. "There's only one way to find out." Motivated by his passion, I put on the outfit. I was surprised at how well it fit me. Tyler's visage changed into an unidentifiable mask as I left the hallway. "You look beautiful," he whispered. Beneath his piercing gaze, heat rose to my cheeks, rekindling a long-dormant confidence. Tyler and I became entangled in a bond that was both comforting and unnerving as the days turned into weeks. We were drawn together by an unexplainable power that I was unable to explain or deny. But that attraction was accompanied by a sense of guilt. Tyler appeared behind me as I was deep in concentration on the chore of dishwashing in the kitchen on a late evening. He put his hand on my shoulder in silence. My back trembled from the heat of his touch. He spoke softly, as if he could see my thoughts. "You're overthinking again." "How could I not?" I answered, barely raising my voice above a whisper. "Who decides what constitutes normal? This is not typical." He gave a rejoinder in response. His comments hung in the air, threatening to disprove all I thought was true. One night, after Tyler had gone to bed, I was alone myself in the living room, looking at the photo album we had rediscovered. The pictures of me when I was younger appeared to be of a different person, a different version of myself that exuded courage, an unrepentant attitude, and a feeling of freedom. "To whence has she disappeared?" Softly, I whispered to myself. The answer was simple. The unrelenting weight of years of obligations, grief, and a persistent feeling of inadequacy overwhelmed her. But once Tyler's presence ignited a spark inside me, I felt the tiniest glimmer of her coming back. As time went on, Tyler's visits became a recurring pattern. The weight of his absence weighed on me more and more with each leave. He turned to face me with a suddenly solemn expression as the sun began to set, bathing the porch in a warm glow. "Helen," he began, his tone solid but slightly vulnerable. "I don't know how to say this without sounding inappropriate, but I've never felt this way about someone else." My throat tightened each breath. "I know it's complicated," he insisted, "but I can't pretend these feelings aren't there." He was so honest that I was shocked. I said in a shaky voice, "I don't know what to do." With an air of simplicity, he said, "Let's work this out together." There were many obstacles in the way of the future. We faced criticism, self-doubt, and a never-ending barrage of questions about what our relationship was really about. One truth, however, remained constant in the midst of everything. We found an unusual, yet unavoidable, bond amongst ourselves. I had a deep sensation of vibrancy, a true aliveness, after years of apathy. I came to a realization when I looked into Tyler's eyes. Life is too short to let fear hold me back any longer. I became caught up in a turbulent sea of emotions after that porch talk. Tyler's remarks reverberated in my mind, adding a mixture of unease and excitement to my quiet moments. The idea of pursuing anything outside of our connection seemed both inevitable and unachievable. I knew all too well that there would be rumors, that there would be scrutiny. The sharp condemnation of family members appeared to reverberate in my ears together with the whispers of neighbors. The arrangement would never make sense to Richard's family in particular, who would see it as a grave betrayal of his memory. However, it had been over a decade since Richard last appeared. Was it really so foolish to look for happiness again? I came across a letter that Richard had written to me before he passed away one day when Tyler and I were going through a box of old letters. "When you needed it most, It was tucked away in an envelope with the words, "To Helen." As I opened it, my hands trembled. Tyler, who understood the gravity of the situation, sat quietly beside me. Richard's sentences seemed to stand the test of time in his neat, familiar style. "The fact that you are reading these words means that I am no longer at your side. It's crucial that you realize that loving you brought me the greatest joy I have ever known. But even when one of us leaves, life goes on. It is a treasure meant to be fully and regretlessly experienced. If you ever find yourself drawn to someone who makes you giggle at times we've spent with or who makes you feel beautiful and alive, go for it. Love them. Accept life for the two of us." Tears were streaming down my face as I got closer to the end, and Tyler's hand was on my back, securing me as I absorbed Richard's final gift, a blessing I had not expected but desperately needed. "Are you okay?" Tyler asked quietly. With a shaky voice, I nodded. I thought that was the case. In actuality, though, I was unsure of my feelings. A break? Gratitude? Or maybe it's just the crushing weight of possibilities. Despite Richard's assurances, the road ahead was far from simple. Every interaction with Tyler had a tangible intensity, as if the air around us were exploding with vitality. I noticed things that I had not seen before, such the way his eyes crinkled with delight, the deep resonance of his laughter, and the quiet yet powerful strength he radiated. We were making dinner together one evening when we both grabbed for the same cutting board and our hands brushed across one another. The touch went beyond what was necessary, and when our eyes met, a silent comprehension passed between us. With my heart pounding in my chest, I stepped back. I muttered, "This is complicated." Tyler set down the cutting board and turned to look directly into my eyes. He said, "It doesn't have to be." "But it is," I insisted, holding onto the counter's edge for support. "Your step-grandmother is me. This is not the norm." "Who decides what is considered normal?" he shot back. I turned away, mirroring his earlier feelings, reluctant to look him in the eye. "Discussions will take place. They will make a decision," he proclaimed firmly. "Let them. They still don't know who we really are. They don't know the struggles we've endured, the importance we have for each other." His assurance was both reassuring and unsettling. Before long, rumors started to spread. Late one night, a neighbor saw Tyler leaving my house and immediately mentioned telling others about it. By the next week, whispers had turned into outright conflicts. I overheard a couple of women talking in low, secretive tones one afternoon as I was walking to the market. "Can you picture the Helen of everyone, including her step-grandson? It's completely disgusting," the other said. "She should be ashamed of herself." Their remarks cut right through me, yet I stooped and walked right by them, not even acknowledging their presence. But within, I was falling apart. Tyler was waiting anxiously on the porch when I got home. His solid and determined presence evoked strong feelings in me, resulting in tears welling up in my eyes. With a trembling voice, I whispered, "They're talking about us." "Let them," he said, pulling me into a comforting embrace. "They are meaningless." But it wasn't just strangers who voiced their dissatisfaction. When my daughter, Sarah, heard the news, she burst into an absolutely amazing level of intensity. "Mommy, how could you?" With a look of incredulity, she paced my living room while shouting, "He feels like one of us, but he isn't," I said, trying to keep my cool, "not by blood, and definitely not the way you think." She snapped back, "That doesn't make it right. What would Father think if he were here right now?" With the hope that it might help her grasp, I showed her Richard's letter. She read the words silently, her face softening slightly, but remaining hazy with doubt. Digested text. Finally, her voice barely above a whisper, she muttered, "I don't understand. You are much older than he is. How could he possibly discover anything in you?" Her remarks cut right through me, but I didn't back down. "He sees me, Sarah, not only as an old woman or a widow, but as a human being worthy of affection." There were times when the pressure felt too much to bear, and I wondered whether it would be easier to simply turn away as the week became into months and Tyler, and I battled the storm of criticism together. However, Tyler was always there to remind me of the reason for our fight whenever doubt started to creep in. He motivated me to uncover the sides of myself that I had buried throughout the years. We took up dancing, which I had put aside since I was in my 40s. We went on a hike, found new restaurants, and even made plans for a weekend getaway to the beach. A sensation of life returned to me after many years, but it was not just the outward changes that were important. At the same time, I was changing as a person. I stopped worrying too much about what other people thought. I started to believe that pursuing my pleasure was worthwhile, even if it didn't quite fit with social expectations. One day, as I was tending to my garden, a car slid into the driveway. I was shocked to see it was Sarah. Her face was carved with a mixture of resolution and uncertainty as she emerged. "Mom," she said in a whisper, softer than she had spoken in weeks. "Could we have a discussion?" With my palms grazing my apron's fabric, I nodded. We stayed out on the porch while the late afternoon light softly embraced us with its golden rays. Sarah admitted that she had been thinking a lot about what you said about how he sees you and that she felt like she now understood it better. I was surprised by what she said. "I've been in a state of misery because so much of my life has been consumed by the relentless pursuit of meeting others' expectations," she added. "However, Mother, you have a great deal of courage. Joy is being embraced by you." Emotions flooded through me as I reached for her hand despite the challenges. "Simply put," I said, "I hope you're happy too." Sarah nodded, a small smile breaking through her grave expression. "I'm trying my hardest, Mother. I really am." As time went on, the whispers becoming progressively fewer as the background noise receded. My family and closest friends, who really mattered, began to accept Tyler and me for who we really were. One night, while we were sitting on the porch under the stars, Tyler turned to me with a serious expression. "Helen, you've given me something I never thought I'd find," he murmured, holding my hand. "I never imagined that I could find a home, a purpose, and love." I grinned, my heart overflowing with happiness. "You've saved my life," I said. I knew then that we had made a good decision. We found something remarkable and beautiful, a love that went beyond conventions and revitalized our very spirits, despite hardship, criticism, and skepticism. A deep truth was revealed to us all as Helen and Tyler worked through the complex web of their unusual love story. Joy often exists outside the boundaries of social acceptance. In the face of criticism, their courage in following their actual wishes serves as a potent affirmation of love and the quest for self-discovery. What is your opinion of their journey? Was it a bold display of affection, or do you have a different opinion? Please share your opinions in the space provided for comments below. Your opinions on this moving and thought-provoking story would be much valued. For more engrossing stories that provoke thought, arouse passion, and promote introspection, please like, share, and subscribe to the History Minute if this video spoke to you. To make sure you never miss a moment, turn on the notification bell. We value your participation and hope to hear from you in the upcoming episode.